Welcome to the Hollywood in Toto podcast, the right take on entertainment. The HiT cast offers a weekly look at Hollywood from a conservative point of view. Sick of media bias infecting Hollywood headlines? Tired of stars insulting your views? HiT has your back. Now, here's your host, Christian Toto.
Welcome to episode 39 of the Hollywood in Toto podcast. This week we're talking with actress Angela Dixon, star of the gripping new film Never Let Go. She gives us some really fun behind-the-scenes moments from the film, as well as an anecdote that reminds us how deeply entrenched the sexism is in Hollywood today. But before that chat, I wanted to give some backstory of my own behind the explosive story that just released on HollywoodInToto.com. Now, I've known comedian Steve McGrew for a while now. He was featured on episode 19 of the HitCast, and I bump into him occasionally at press screenings and other Denver-based events. He's always struck me as a pretty good guy, kind of a straight shooter. He's also a hardcore Trump supporter, and you know what? Last time I checked, that was still legal in America. He recently shared a terrible situation with me about his fellow Denver comics. Seems they're attacking him relentlessly online, and even beyond the online world, even into the realm of his stand-up career. Why? Well, he's a Trump fan, and he's been very vocal about it on social media, even though his act itself is apolitical to the core. Now, these fellow comics who should be on his side, or at least kind of his band of brothers, so to speak, are trying to get him kicked off a very high-profile New Year's Eve gig, and maybe even kicked off Twitter itself. Now, if you're a comedian, that's a really good way to market yourself, and getting kicked off any kind of social media platform spells trouble, period. So, we talked a little bit, I interviewed him, got some quotes, and then I started digging a bit. I found those tweets from his fellow comics that backed up his story. I also reached out to a couple other Denver-based comics who shared what he was going through and backed up his narrative. Now, they are his friends, but they did sort of basically say what he was going through was accurate. But I also wanted to hear from other people, so I reached out to some who aren't on Steve's side, who have been attacking him online for a variety of reasons. I wanted to get their perspective. I thought as a journalist, I can't just have his side of the story. I've got to get both sides. So I reached out to 3 different comics, each who have been very critical of Steve online, and none of them reported back to me. I got no answer. I waited several days, and I ended up publishing the story without their responses. Now, if they come back to me, and they want to share their story at last, I will definitely update the article and kind of put a note in there that they did finally respond, but I don't think they will. I don't know whether they don't feel confident about sharing their story, whether they're reticent to talk to the press, or maybe they really just can't defend themselves. I don't know, and I don't know if I will know or find out because of their silence. But for now, it seems a little bit too close to some of the other stories in the press these days. If you support Trump or even just the modern-day GOP, well, you're going to pay the consequences. You're a racist or a hater or a sexist or a Nazi, to use the slur du jour. And once more, what are we hearing from Hollywood types about these kind of attacks? Precisely.
I am Groot, and you are listening to my daddy's podcast.
This week's HiT tip of the week is Desierto. Gael Garcia Bernal stars as a Mexican man trying to sneak across the border into the United States along with his fellow Mexicans. Only Negan himself is standing in the way. Yep, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is there playing the ugliest American possible, a so-called patriot gleefully shooting illegals as they enter the country. Bernal's character could be the next one to go down. Now, the film's politics are coarse and obvious, and you know where they're coming from. But if you look past that, this is a really slick, efficient thriller. It's one of those movies that just, there's not an ounce of meat on fat on its bones. It's pure entertainment. It's well worth your time. When the movie first hit theaters, I spoke to the director, Jonas Cuarón, and we talked about the film's political intent. He says it wasn't as obvious as you think. He wasn't trying to send a message. I don't quite know if I believe that, and you can see the film and decide for yourself. But I will say that once you put the message aside, if you agree with it, if you disagree with it, it's a very riveting piece of entertainment. Desierto just got added to the Netflix content library, and if you start streaming it, chances are you won't stop until the end credits.
You're listening to the Hollywood in Toto podcast, the right take on entertainment.
Before this week's HitCast interview, I wanted to share a quick plug for my first ebook, Rage Against the PC Machine. It features stories, interviews, and anecdotes from stars who refuse to kowtow to the PC police, and that's pretty refreshing these days. You can find the book at Amazon.com, and I hope you check it out. But now let's hear from a British actress who really does prepare for her roles in a pretty remarkable way. Angela Dixon likes to push herself hard. She's a very fit actress who won't shy away from a tough role. Like starring in a film with so much action and so much intensity, it scared off another actress. She's the main attraction in Never Let Go, the flip side to that recent Halle Berry film, Kidnap. That movie featured an ordinary mom trying to get back her son, but she didn't have any special skills. She was just a mom. But you know what? Her son is gone, and she would do anything possible to get that kid back. And that's a similar situation here, except Dixon's character, well, she's got a particular set of skills, as Liam Neeson might say. Angela spoke to the HitCast all the way from England, and the audio is a little bit uneven at times, so I apologize for that. But I still think the chat is well worth your time. Here's my interview with Angela Dixon. Angela, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to speak to me. You know, I was reading about Never Let Go, and I understand that there was another actress involved initially, but that she was a little concerned about her safety, because this is obviously a rigorous performance. Can you talk about your reaction when you kind of signed on? Was that something you were worried about, or did you have faith that you can kind of pull it off and make sure that nothing untoward happened?
Yeah, I had met Howard, the director, a number of years before, and he sort of got to know me, and I've done some sort of a few crazy things in my life, and I've taken risks, and I've travelled by myself. I backpacked for 4 years by myself in the Far East, and so Howard sort of knew that I would be sort of up for it and that I'd be okay, and I genuinely I didn't have any qualms about it at all. I had no concerns at all, and there were moments when it was a little bit challenging, but I actually didn't really find it that challenging. And John Ford, Howard's brother, who was also working on the projection, at one point said, "You don't seem to be fazed by any of this." And I said, no, I'm not. I was recently in the Niger Delta without the security guard that I was promised, and I was dumped by a swamp. This is much easier. It didn't faze me.
Talk a little bit about your backpacking. It sounds arduous, and is that the kind of maybe discipline that really helps you as an actress to kind of have that? I know it's a very different skill set, but I think discipline is discipline at the end of the day.
Yes, it's something that people don't always realise, I think, about actors. I think there's an impression that actors sort of sit around, sorry for that noise, actors sort of sit around and do nothing waiting for the phone to ring. But actually you need incredible discipline to be an actor, because you have to show up. There is no being sick, there's no not giving your best. You have to give everything you can, and you have to give it on a certain time, at a certain time. So with backpacking, for me, it was, I'm just really curious about things, and I like learning new things and meeting new people and seeing different things. And part of that for me is about being an actor, understanding what it's like to be a person, a human being, what's going on underneath, and experiencing lots of different lives. So, I wasn't a lazy backpacker. I'm afraid I had to either be learning something new, earning money in order to travel, or doing something that was completely different. And it was an amazing experience.
U.S. moviegoers just saw Kidnap with Halle Berry. Yeah. Now, she's a very average mom, had no special skills, and she's obviously doing whatever she can to get her child back. Lisa Brennan, your character in Never Let Go, is very different. She's got some of the, I guess, the Liam Neeson line, the special set of skills needed. Talk about her and what you wanted to bring to the role when you first signed on.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity for me, really, because I really enjoy being physical. I've taught fitness in the past. I do a lot of combat and a lot of boxing training, which I just thoroughly enjoy. So it was a great opportunity for me to combine that part of my life with my acting. But it was also really important that the physicality, the special skills didn't define her as a person. So it was something that underpinned her and something that, of course, is part of her, but it wasn't just about that. And I really wanted to make sure that she was a sort of fully rounded, real woman rather than just a sort of an action heroine, as it were. But yeah, she wouldn't have been able to do some of the things she did, I don't think, if she wasn't able to pull a few punches.
This may sound like an odd reflection on the film. One of the things I noticed about your character is that, in a lot of Hollywood production, if there's a female action hero, she might be scantily clad, or maybe she takes off her shirt and she's got short shorts on. That isn't your character. Lisa Brennan is sort of sensibly dressed. And, I'm a man, and I was kind of curious, was that a choice in a sense from you and the production team to kind of make it, to take that part of it aside, or did it just happen the way it did?
No, it was very much a conscious choice, and actually, I don't know how much I can say. Actually, I don't want to get into trouble, but that actually was in a very high-profile meeting. That was actually discussed. I believe somebody said something along the lines, "Why did you cast someone over 30, and why is she not scantily clad?" And I won't repeat the next things that he said, but basically, it was pretty offensive. But Howard Ford didn't want that. That's not what it was about. Mm-hmm. It was about the woman, the individual. It was very much a conscious choice not to do that. I've just finished shooting another film where there's a lot of fighting, women fighting, and there's a young actress who's playing the main lead role, and she's completely covered as well for exactly the same reasons, that they didn't want it to be about the scantily clad woman running around with a mask. Yeah.
I read that you had a really good working relationship with the director, Harold Ford. Is there a scene or a moment from the movie you can kind of name check where you can say, this was one I worked on with the director, or this one that I sort of improvised, or something like that?
A moment that it's funny, not really actually, because by the time we got on set, although technically we didn't rehearse, as is often the case on independent films, there just isn't the resource of the time. But I knew about the role 9 months before, and I was preparing for it really mentally and emotionally for 9 months. I also had many conversations with Howard around what she was about, what the film was about. So by the time we got on set, there wasn't much left to say, really.
You're locked in.
We both kind of knew exactly, what was needed, and it was a very, very special relationship, I have to say. It was wonderful. It really was wonderful. And watching him work was incredible, because obviously when you see the film, it's an independent film, and obviously again it doesn't have the resource that the bigger budget films have. But if you actually knew how it was made, and how we'd turn up in a village, with 1 hour to sunset, and an hour later come out with footage that looked as though the set had been dressed for days. It was incredible. It really was. It was magic. It was magical.
Is there sort of a moment from the behind the scenes that you can share that where things just, all of it happened at the right moment? You mentioned sort of the lighting situation, but anything else where the cast and crew was able to improv and it worked out for the best?
I think there was quite a lot of that going on. I think I can. Okay, so we were driving back from the mountains, and we were missing. We had a problem with the location that we really wanted to film on in terms of the backdrop, and we drove past a cement works that we had actually filmed in. Again, I don't know how much I'm getting into trouble here. And basically we sort of jumped over the fence and filmed as if it was the desert, but actually I think it was a cement works, and I just and that was it was very successful.
Yeah, well, the viewer will never know.
We will film now.
That's right. We touched upon this theme before. I want to kind of maybe just dig a little bit. There's been a whole conversation, especially in the United States, about women in film. They don't get enough directing gigs. They're not as represented as the population suggests, obviously. From your perspective, I mean,
Yes.
obviously your film is an exception. What can change or what should change to kind of make things more equitable? I mean, I think we all want that, but it's getting there. I think there are a lot of different theories, but given your perspective and your work, what do you want to see happen?
I was asked this recently, actually, and some people I know sort of consider me to be quite a feminist. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a feminist. I just don't understand, genuinely don't understand, why there is this discrepancy in terms of storytelling. I don't understand why myself as a woman should be less interesting than a man. And I understand the sort of power play and the social history of men and women in the last couple of hundred years or whatever. But I just would love to see stories about women that are interesting. Now, I was at a panel last year in Beverly Hills there was stunt women, there was astronauts, there was one of the first test pilots in the 40s, and these women were mesmerising, and they were telling stories that were so engaging, and those are the kind of things that I want to be seeing. I don't like what goes on a lot in women's magazines. I'm not interested in the more superficial stuff. I want to hear about interesting, brave women. Really.
Uh-huh.
I think you're right. I think it is changing. I remember seeing, I think it's Brooklyn last year or the year before, and it suddenly dawned upon me that there were many wonderful female characters, and not just the lead. There were lots of interesting female characters in that, and so I don't want to eradicate men. I would just like to see, I would just like there to be more parity. That's all.
I totally understand. You think about actors in, whether it's indie films or Hollywood or across the board, we see the glamorous pictures, the red carpets. I was kind of curious from your perspective, what's the kind of the least glamorous part of being an actress? I mean, we all see the glossy side, but as a working actress, what's sort of the less glamorous part that you say, oh, people don't know it, but I actually do this and this, and it's just part of the job.
Very little of it is glamorous. I'm actually doing it. So for example, Never Let Go. So there's a scene where I'm sewing myself up for an injury. That was filmed, I believe, around 2 or 3 in the morning. We'd been shooting since probably 8 or 9 the previous day. You will be hanging around in not particularly nice places. You might be extremely cold or extremely hot. You may be having to deal with, there was one scene, again in Never Let Go, which was a very emotional scene. And of course you don't see this in the film, but it's filmed in an alleyway. We just went out and found this alleyway, but it was quite populous. And so there were just, when I looked towards the camera at one point, there were about 40 or 50 faces. I'm sort of like peering and trying to get a good view and looking around. So and it was dusty and dirty and hot and smelly and everything else. So it's not all glamour, but it is a wonderful experience when it's working well. Mm-hmm. And there were a number of times while shooting Never Let Go that I really felt like this was absolutely what I was born to do. There's a scene that actually is not in the film. It was a different ending, and it was, when I filmed that, it was just literally the sun was sort of shining on my face, and it was the most elated feeling. It felt really right. Yeah,
it makes it all the sacrifices and all the creativity worthwhile.
Yeah, and there are sacrifices. I know from the outside it will, often looks, I would say, glamorous or easy, but it's not so.
I want to preface the next question by saying I don't believe this to be the case, but it's kind of part of the cultural conversation in the U.S. right now. People could look at Never Let Go and say it's a white character in a foreign land, and the bad guys are people of color. And there's going to be part of the community here that will freak out about that. And again, I don't believe that's fair, but that is part of the kind of the chatter these days. And I was kind of curious your reaction to that, because I think that will bubble up as the film gets a wider release.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Howard was very aware of that, actually, and because of that, actually, in the film, the bad guys are not the local people, and actually, my character is helped a lot by the individuals that she meets along the way, who are the local people. So, it was something that was really considered at the time. So hopefully, that won't be the impression, because I said the bad guys are not the locals. So, but I do, and there were tensions at one point. We were filming in a tannery, and I was wearing an abaya. And some of the workers there got very upset because they felt that it was disrespectful, which is kind of, understandable.
Yeah. I was reading your IMDb page, and you have a couple of projects coming up. I wonder if you can maybe share a little bit about them. I think one is called Black Side and one is Homeless Ashes.
Yeah, I've literally just wrapped from Black Side. That I finished. I got back on Monday. That is a sci-fi action, I would say, a film. But you never know what they're going to be like when they're edited, so it may turn into a thriller. But it's about a young girl whose parents are killed by elder gods that used to rule the world, and I play the boss of the government unit that deports these gods, because somebody, we deported them a long time ago, and then somebody created a portal, they came back. So it's female driven. There's a lot of fighting in this one, actually. There was an amazing fight stunt team on it. But my character is the sort of sarcastic, hard-nosed boss that runs it all, with a past. Of course, all characters have to have a past. And tomorrow I'm starting to film Homeless Ashes, which is another independent, and I am playing the mother of a little boy that runs away from home because of domestic violence that goes on within the home. So tomorrow is quite an emotional day because I'm playing an abused wife. So yes, it's quite exciting time.
Yeah, it's quite range. You got quite a range going on there as well. Angela, before we let you go, we always ask guests of the Hollywood in Toto podcast what they're watching these days, what they're reading, maybe some songs that are on their iPod they want to kind of share with people. Anything you could recommend that you've been enjoying that maybe people can check out themselves?
Yeah, I'm terrified about those kind of questions. There's a program in the UK called the Desert Island Discs, and I absolutely love that because it interviews people and they play their 6 or 7 discs that they would play on it. They would take with them to a desert island. So what I'm actually doing at the moment is there's a song called Human, but I'm forgetting what the artist is called. So I'm just checking. There we go. Rag and Bone Man. So I love it. Human is the album, but also Human is the sort of the single that's been released on that, and I absolutely love that at the moment. He's a big sort of beefy guy that looks like a biker, but his voice is so soulful, and I love it. So that's sort of what's on my iPod at the moment when I'm listening most. I would to TED Talks. I'm afraid TED Talks and Desert Island Discs I would listen to as well. I love TED Talks. It's like 20 minutes of sort of intense, interestingness. I love it. What was the other question? What was the other question?
Oh, I think you just answered. I mean, I just want to kind of what you're checking out. So, no TV shows you're binging at the moment beyond that, or is that sort of your...
Well, I'm waiting. I haven't started the Game of Thrones at the moment,
okay.
So I need to do that because I think we've just got one more left. Actually, I think it's 7, and they're on 6 at the moment. So I haven't even started that. So that's what I've got ahead of me.
That's right. That's your duty. No one can actually avoid that show, so we're all watching it. Well, Angela, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. The movie is Never Let Go. Check it out. It's a really great white-knuckle thriller, and of course, Angela is terrific in it, a really fierce female character with a softer side for sure. Angela, thanks so much, and I hope to look forward to speaking to you down the road for more movies.
It's my pleasure. pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks again for listening. Don't forget to check out HollywoodInToto.com for both the show notes and, of course, the latest entertainment news. Please follow me at Twitter at HollywoodInToto. And we'd love it if you leave a podcast review over at iTunes. See you next week.